You are now tuned to BS3 Network.
Welcome to another episode of Queen3 King. I am your host with the most, or should I say doing the most? Which one y'all think?
Doing the most.
With the most.
Thank you. There you go. There you go.
All right, AJ, you creeping to that other side.
My bad.
King Doc, I want to introduce you to my co-host. Looks like we just lost a season, Queen. So I'm sure she'll tune back in just a second. So forgive our technical difficulties. We'll work through those. So with that being said, that means we will start our introductions in Forney, Texas, with the educator queen, the one who is just got the ankle monitor off. So she was able to come over to the Dawkins Estate this past weekend for a birthday celebration. And almost got put back in the ankle monitor after that. But anyway, TT, say hey to the people.
Good evening, everybody.
Your blind's a little crooked back there. Why AJ laughing at you like that, nigga? That's what I'm laughing at.
Because he tried. He know I'm about to get on your.
All right, and next we are talking to the baby queen, formerly known as Blake's mama. Now she's squarely in the corner of Bronx's mama. He the one get all the Facebook posts and
liar.
Not so I done had to take over the Blake posting and go to soccer games. The soccer game I went to, she wasn't even at a soccer game or nothing.
You gonna say why I wasn't there?
Am I lying?
Are you gonna say why she wasn't there?
Your Honor, please instruct the witness to answer the question.
Are you gonna say why I wasn't there?
Presented. Were you or were you not at the soccer game?
You gonna say where I was?
I don't know where you was.
No, she wasn't there because she had a baby with RSV done with 3 other infections. So
no, I had ESPN on that day. What
we conquer and divide around here, okay?
All right. Anyway, this is the baby queen, also known as Mama Lee. Talk to the people instead of talking to me.
Excuse me, everyone. Excuse me, everyone. He is really trying today.
Talk to
Hello to our beautiful listeners.
Or viewers, either way.
Go, no, Alicia.
And next.
You're okay.
We are going.
I'm real sick of him.
To the season queen.
Just breathe.
Out in Van Augustine. Also known as AJ don't even know where that's at. He like, I ain't never heard of Van Augustine. Trust me, we haven't either, but that's what my mama called it.
Don't know.
Also known as Coco, Darling Nikki, Skinny Minnie, Boney Maroney, the Glamour herself. What up, Queen?
I'm great. How is everybody in the viewing audience or listening audience today?
Look, the homeboy in Van Augustine, he right out there by you. He talking about self down, T.
Yeah,
please.
Actually,
please
I don't live in Van Augustine.
You live, and Mama said you live damn near in Van Augustine.
What is Van Augustine? Oh, that's what she called it.
But she called it.
She don't know.
And last, but certainly not least, we have AJ Jones of the Lunch Break Sports Show, the 40-year radio veteran, legend, who started at WKRP in Cincinnati with Venus Flytrap. What up, AJ?
I'm never gonna let that down. I'm never gonna let that down.
You know what? Hey, did nobody tell you to start radio in Cincinnati?
You know what? You sure right. But no, here's the thing. I actually started radio in New Orleans, Louisiana. Real talk.
Oh, did you?
I went from New Orleans to Atlanta, then back to Cincinnati, and then I came here. So But anyway, I just came on tonight to just hear your sister say, "I'm gonna punch you dead in your back." I just want to hear it. I'm gonna punch you dead in your back.
I got you. I got
Somebody need to.
Yeah. All right. Well, today, again, our topic, as you see scrolling below, is work in progress. Again, we've all heard somebody say, let me see how I can put this, fresh off of acting a fool. Well, I'm a work in progress. So we're going to start. We're going to start with the baby queen.
Oh,
work to
my.
Mika, Nikki, and then to AJ. When you hear somebody say they're a work in progress, what are your first thoughts?
It really irks my spirit because they use it as a reason to always show their toxic behavior. And they'll say, "Oh, I'm a work in progress. You know, God is working on me." But that does not mean we have to accept you and your work in progress. So it really grinds my gears. It's just as bad as New Year, New Me. Ooh.
So let me ask, and I'm gonna go out of order because again, this wasn't a plain question. Did we start? Is this a new thing that we done started hearing over the last few? I just don't remember.
It's been a while.
Yeah, okay.
You talking about the what?
The work in progress situation.
Work in progress.
No, it's been a while.
Okay, I guess that's probably why it's starting to get on my nerves because it's done been around too long. Like y'all, this shit, he ain't finished with nothing. The God I know finished a couple of things. I know. He ain't finished nobody yet.
Exactly.
But it's just like you said, it's fresh off of acting a fool when they usually say, "You know what, I'm a work in progress," to excuse that behavior, and it's a no-go for me.
All right, Mika, what do you think when you first hear it? Are there times where you receive it well and you believe it, or how do you take it when you hear it?
I mean, there are times here and there that I may receive that, but if it's from the same person time and time again, girl, you know I'm a work in progress. And you, just like you said, you were joking, but you like, okay, the Lord ain't finished with you yet. So you kind of look at them like, what are you doing? Because after a while, it becomes an excuse to me. Right. You're not a work in progress. You just don't want to.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
And that's the key right there, Mika. They don't want to.
She hitting below the belt right there, boy. All right, Nikki, what do you think when you hear it?
I'm on board with what the things that Mika said about it and Alicia, because those are the things that I think about it as well. But also, at some point, you have to stop saying that and using that as an excuse. So I think that a lot of people just use it as an excuse so they can get by with it, or think that they can get by with it, and people will accept that.
Manipulation.
So, right.
It's that Teflon coating.
Yep.
All right, AJ, I'm a work in progress, homeboy.
I co-sign and stamp everything that's already been said. I'm a word nerd, so I listen to people's words. Right on. I line it up with their actions. Right. I go ahead and go by what that adds up to. I don't need nobody to calculate it for me. I just let that add up to what it adds up to. And somebody said it's almost become more of an excuse than anything else. And it's usually like the word "but." I don't talk about people, but I don't get in nobody else's business. But everything you just said got changed because here it come. You finna talk about somebody. You finna get in somebody's business. So it's almost like it has become that. And in the church, somebody just said it earlier. In the church, it's become, the Lord knows my heart.
Yes.
So where was your heart before you cussed them out? Where was your heart before you did what you did or said what you said? So, it really has, unfortunately, become an excuse for many of us.
All right. So I'm going to get into some more clinical definition, so to speak, of what a work in progress, how it's taken. And before I do that, I just want to tell the viewing audience, let us know what you think. When you hear somebody say, I'm a work in progress, how does it hit you? Are we viewing it incorrectly? Do you have some insight that we don't have? Let us know. So in terms of just straight up Google, work in progress is someone who is still learning, growing, and changing from what they were into what they wish to become. Okay, that's what Google has to say about it. The Urban Dictionary says something that is being progressively modified and improved over time, most usually used to suggest that it's happening at a rate more slowly than desired.
Slow?
Yeah, and I thought that was a very keen way to put it, more slowly than desired. And in fact, last night on the forecast, we were reviewing the movie OG from Netflix with Jeffrey Wright, fantastic actor there. And one of the things that came up in that is how the goalpost is always moved. And so that stood out to me, as far as us as a people, so to speak, right? And so it kind of resonates with me here, is that we continue to move the goalpost for us in our favor, right? We keep changing the desired outcome, or how long we're going to get there, or the rate with which we're going to get there. Again, like I said, to me, it seems that we are using it to provide a shield or a barrier to poor behavior. Now, this particular topic came up. I can't remember, AJ, when we discussed it one way or the other. I think I just simply called you and asked you about it. And it just so happened to be that you're teaching a series on a work in progress. What can you share with us about the series that you're teaching on this?
Yeah, the series is actually finish what you started.
Okay.
And it just kills all that argument with, I'm a work in progress. Y'all said it earlier. If you claim that Jesus is in your heart somewhere, if you claim that God is the head of your life, then something ought to be finished by now. We don't serve an incomplete God. In fact, I take it straight to the word. I'm gonna let you read it for yourself, so you can't lie on me and say I said. So in the scripture, it says, he that began a good work in you is faithful to perform it until the day of Christ Jesus. So how is it that you're not finishing anything that you started? You still cussing, you still lying, you still messy, you still get mad because people sit in your pew now. You paying $20 a month in tithes and all, but it's your pew. How you still sleeping with everybody but your husband? I don't understand.
Oh, yes, Lord.
I don't understand how you still a work in progress. Ain't nothing changed. And remember, your testimony is you was raised up in the church. You grew up in the church. You VBS, BTU, all of that, but ain't nothing changed. At some point, you got to let the good Lord, since you can't do it, you got to let the good Lord finish what he started.
Amen.
And somebody said it earlier, it comes down to this. If it don't get finished, it's because you didn't want it to finish.
Absolutely.
Because God is a finisher.
Yeah.
God ain't incomplete in nothing. So it's one of two things. Either you ain't working on it, or you refuse to let the work get completed. Period.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So we're gonna go on and answer a couple of more questions about this and kind of chop this up in a couple of different ways, but we're gonna come back to you so you can give us some more nuggets on your teachings, what you've discovered in your studying and stuff like that. So part of what that made me ask is, why don't they want it finished? Okay. And Lily, we're gonna start with you on this as well. Why don't they want it finished? Is it because they are uncomfortable? Because in other words, sometimes people done been the way they done been all their life, and they don't know how to not be mean. They don't know how to not be, that toxic situation, right? Like they ain't never been in a relationship that ain't toxic, so they don't know how to be it. Why, in your estimation, do people seem like they don't even want it to be finished?
We're a society that lacks accountability. So it's one of those things that if I don't want to be accountable for it, I don't have to change. Because if I'm saying I need to change, then I'm saying, okay, I'm this person. And most of the time they don't want to believe that they're that person. And so many people have excused them from years of that behavior. Y'all, we hear it all the time. Y'all know that's how she is. That doesn't excuse that behavior.
It does not.
It doesn't excuse that behavior, and I don't have to tolerate it either. But we do that to avoid having that person actually be accountable of their actions.
Okay, Mika, I'm gonna get to you on why don't they want it finished in a second, but I'm gonna get a couple of comments. First, Craig said to AJ's comment, he just said strong.
Yeah.
And then we got Sharonda. What's going on, home girl? Nikki, this is Sharonda from Henderson Circle. Ivan, her brother's name Ivan as well.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever. She goes, I mean, we all know how long it's taken 30 and 635 construction to be completed. However, at some point, we can't continue to use the phrase to justify bad behavior.
Oh, absolutely.
So Lily, Mika, it's your turn. So tell me, why don't they want it to be finished?
I think you said it as you asked the question. A lot of people get comfortable in being uncomfortable, and it's familiar. So if I've had this behavior for 20 years, it's gonna hurt to change it. And I don't want to be, and like Alicia said, it comes back to accountability. I don't want to come back to being accountable for a behavior that I've always had. And now I said I've changed, and guess what? People are gonna expect me to change and hold me accountable now. So it's familiar, it's comfortable.
Nikki, anything new? Why don't they want it finished?
Do y'all think that maybe sometimes it's because they don't know how to make the change?
That's fair.
Possibly.
So that's what I think, because I know a lot of people who just like to stay in the same thing over and over again, just sit and not even try to make any changes. And I know y'all know people like that too that don't want to make the change, but it could just be because they don't know how to make the change.
Right. And I think this is another point where therapy comes back into play as well. Right. I was having a conversation with somebody today, and I said it again. I said, it's so funny to me how often it comes up that in essence, they need therapy. And I think at the end of the day, to a certain extent, we all need some form of therapy.
Right.
So the bottom line is sometimes we are blind to our own deficits, okay, because our minds are rigged to self-justify. That's a survival mechanism, So unless you get somebody bouncing some stuff off of you or getting you to talk, or sometimes you ever notice to where you got a thought, but until you say it out loud, it don't sound as stupid as it is.
Right.
It's like, dang, when I was thinking it didn't sound that stupid, but as soon as I said it out loud, that sounds stupid to me, and I said it. AJ, why don't people want it finished?
Yeah, again, a point that was already said. Some people are more comfortable with who they were than putting in the work to becoming who they can be. So a lot of times we'll identify people by their situation. Hey, ain't that the girl that just got divorced? Or ain't that the dude that just got out of jail? And because, you can identify that, folks already think that about you. It's easier just being that than doing the work to become something else. I know people who literally have created entire ministries around who they were. And the reality is God's got so much more for you, with you. And because of that, than just letting you be that. Not saying that it's not impactful, because again, I ain't trying to quote scripture all night long. But remember when Jesus said, I don't know you. And people said, what do you mean you don't know us? We did this in your name. We did that in your name. We did that in your name. And Jesus said, you are a worker of iniquity. In other words, you did that. I let there be some success, but you wasn't doing it for me. You were doing that to identify you. You were doing that to say, I'm the one who did this. I'm the one who brought the sweetest Kool-Aid to the church picnic. I'm the one that made the best potato salad. And again, man, that's holding on to something that you're comfortable with. People love to identify as the biggest tither. People love to identify as the longest member, or the mother of the church, or the father of the church. And watch this. Sometimes people like to identify as the one that will cuss you smooth out. Don't mess with me. I don't play. And the reality is, man, there ought to be something in your life that matured from back then to right now.
Amen.
Wow.
There ought to be.
Wow, man. Pastor Dodd in the building. Pastor, I need to get your thoughts on this too, man. A work in progress. What have you seen in your ministry and in your ministering to people and counseling people and stuff like that? How do you see this? Again, a work in progress. Again, are people using this as an excuse for being mean? Is the term overused? Is this just an excuse for making mistakes? Is it simply a buffer that allows you not to take full responsibility? That's what we're talking about today. So Pastor Dodd, give me your take on that as well. I'd be interested to know what you are seeing. We got Ben Sutter III in the building, the gentleman who put the BS and BS3 radio network.
What's up, Big Ben?
And then we got the daughter-in-law in the building. She goes, that's Brandy Love Dog, and she goes, so true. Just because that's how someone is doesn't mean it's right. Toxic ways lead to toxic outcomes. Wow, that's a strong statement right
Absolutely.
there.
Can I say something real quick, Doc?
Yeah,
Can I say something real quick? You just brought up therapy. I had a bunch of therapists, but I had two good ones.
Mm-hmm.
One of them died, and the other one, you know, that's really my therapist now. I walked in the room not wanting to change. I walked in the room wanting to be, you know, in what I was. And he finally said, listen, I'll be glad when you get over you because you are about to kill you.
Ooh, man.
And watch this. And he got up and he walked out. And I was mad as hell because I still had 45 minutes on my time that I was paying for. So I know he going to walk back in this room and watch this. And he did not until the time was up. And when he came back in, I'll see you next week. And I was mad. I wanted to cuss right then, but I all I got out was yes. And I came back and I started doing the work that was going to help me change. But it took him not empowering me and not letting me be the old me so that I can be what I needed to be.
Yeah. Sometimes, we try to pick a therapist sometimes that's going to agree with what we're doing. And guess what? It's some out there
that will do it.
As long as you're going to pay them the $75 an hour or $175 an hour or whatever it's going to be, $250 per session or whatever. Yeah, they'll tell you whatever going to make you feel good to keep coming back. You know, but a wise man once said, he said, in order for you to become comfortable in life, you must first become uncomfortable. You know, so any kind of growth, you're gonna have to become uncomfortable first.
Absolutely.
Right? Even us as physical beings have growing pains. You know, there was an entire show called Growing Pains, and it talked about those kids, how they were growing up and the pains that they had to go through, whether it be those social pains or whether it be those emotional pains or whether it be that mental struggle when it comes to adolescence that you have to deal with. So all growth requires you to go through some uncomfortableness. And as you're changing altitude, that's the only time a plane is going to experience turbulence, when it's changing altitude. It's either rising or it's descending. It's either ascending or it's descending. So in order for you to rise, which everybody seems to want to do, you're going to have to go through some turbulence, and that turbulence is going to require you to address it.
Very true.
We got CJ in the building. He goes, what's up, beautiful people? And I put the topic back on because of that question so he can know we're talking about a work in progress, again, because we hear it so often, and we just wanted to break that term down a little bit. Let's see, Pastor Don said, I agree with the brother that finished talking. Okay, he's talking about AJ.
Bless you, Pastor.
Let's see. Yeah, that's H-Rap Pastor, y'all. So you know he got his work cut out for him, man. That's why as soon as I found out Pastor Don was H-Rap Pastor, I said, man, send me your cash app, man. I'm going to give you a love offering right now. Craig said, keep speaking that, Miss Brandy, what she said on her comments earlier. And he said, AJ, to AJ's point, that therapist prophecies were so true. You know, see, a lot of folks don't understand that sometimes, and I'm willing to bet a large majority of the time, our issues in life have more to do with us than anybody else.
Oh, absolutely.
Us getting in our own way. And sometimes it's not even about, you know, see, we know there are those people who think they shit don't stink, and I just got to say it like that, right? That's the way they operate. That's their modus operandi, right? However, there are some people who get in their own way because they are not confident enough in their abilities, right? So you can get in your own way in a couple of different ways. And sometimes it's because I'm not confident enough in who I am when you should be. Let's see, Pastor Dodd came back and said, Jesus said, I called you out from the people are afraid of changing, it hurts. Yeah. I called you out from that. Right on. Okay. Let's see. Let me ask you this. Is trying enough? And I'm going to start with you on this, AJ, then we'll go to Nikki, Mika, and Lily. Is trying enough? Because again, that's another thing. When people say I'm a work in progress, you know, another way they say that, sometimes they don't say I'm a work in progress, but when you're calling them out on something, they'll say, well, I'm trying. That ought to count for something. I'm not like I used to be. You know, in other words, they used to be a real asshole. Now they're an asshole just once. And so they like, well, I'm getting somewhere. It's trying enough, AJ.
Yeah. So again, trying is another one of those words that's become superficial, become a crutch.
That's right.
Because
That's
at
the word I
some
was looking
point,
for.
trying ought to become doing. And if your trying never results in doing, then you need to try something else or you need to do something else. But trying can't be the only thing you do. And I have deacons that I literally told them, stop telling me you're trying. Let me see you do something.
It's about that action.
Yeah. See, I'm gonna quote this great philosopher, Yoda, out of Star Wars. He says, "No more try, do." And that's how he talks. See, if it's in the Star Wars fans out there, that's what he told them.
Yeah.
And he talked like that. No more try, do. So that's what I'm telling you. He said, don't be trying, do. So Yoda was telling him, I'm tired of it. And we go to you in just a moment, Nikki, about that is trying enough. Craig said God can only fill you to the capacity that you empty yourself. So again, AJ ties back into what you said. Until you get out of your own way. All right, Nikki, before we go to more comments, is trying enough? Do we need to give more grace?
No, I don't think that trying is enough. And I'm speaking on that because of myself when I've been in situations and I was trying to saying, well, I'm trying. Well, trying didn't get it until I made up in my mind that I had to do more than just try. I need to push a little further to get that accomplished, whatever it was. So no, trying is definitely not enough.
Okay, Mika, on you. It's trying enough.
Don't have anything to add, but what AJ said is correct. I mean, what's the action behind trying? You eventually have to do. So
yeah. Lily.
Same. I got to see some type of action applied to that try, because you can say you're trying, but nothing ever changed, or you don't see the benefit of you trying. So I need to see something change within you to know that you're actually taking the steps to do that.
All right, a couple of comments and then we'll go to another area of this. Brandy said, I'm extremely guilty of allowing insecure people to make me feel insecure. So it's true, it all starts with self. And Shannon said, also a radio veteran, she goes, what about I'm working on it?
Yeah.
Sometimes, believe it or not, what you say can really change your approach. See, so oftentimes we say we're a work in progress. And like AJ said, and it's the term that keeps coming up in my mind, is that it's a crutch. If you just simply change the way you're describing it, right? It doesn't mean that you're a finished product, but what it does is it causes you to be moving forward.
Yeah.
So sometimes just change your terminology in the way you're describing your situation or you're answering for your situation, and it could actually lead to progress instead of stagnation. CJ Boy says sometimes people be full of shit. I'm a work in progress. Man, I know people that's been a work in progress for years. There's nothing wrong with working with oneself, but if that person isn't willing to change, then you're just using that as an excuse to continue being an asshole.
Correct.
And we got H-Rap in the building. He goes, my coaches used to say trying is a mild form of failure. Whoa, that is strong right there.
Yeah, that's real strong.
That is strong right there.
It is.
That is strong right there. So let me ask you this. Ain't it our fault? Well, what do you mean by that, King Dog? Don't we not hold those people accountable enough, those people that are closest to us? Don't we let them make it too much?
Yes.
Lily, let's start with you on that.
Absolutely. I said that in the beginning. We lack accountability. We don't hold people accountable. Instead, we enable people because we continue to go around them knowing that they're going to act the same way every time we see them. And sometimes you have to make them feel that. Yeah. So I've learned to, okay.
Yeah, like, don't gloss over that comment. You just said sometimes we got to make them feel that. See, that's an important statement in that.
Yes.
See, sometimes they don't feel the impact of their behavior.
Yeah, and some people when it just talking to people, whether it's at work, friends, some people are like, you know what? No one has ever told me that or been bold enough to say that to me. And I'm like, well, today is your day because I'm going to say it. I'm really one is not going to usually hold back on my feelings. So I'm going to tell you how it makes me feel, or I'll remove myself from the situation because I really want you to feel it. And know that I'm not going to be the one that allows you to use me in a sense, because that's just how she is, y'all. We know that, y'all know when we come over here, she gonna be like this. I can't do it. Mm-hmm. So when you start to feel it, is usually people holding them accountable, not coming around, not even feeding into that behavior. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you notice if you, sometimes you notice if you really be like, okay, I'm not even gonna go there with her, that makes that person even more upset. So they start going harder, like, oh, I'm gonna get a reaction out of her. Mm-hmm. No, not today.
Hey, and that's a big word too. We're gonna jump back on that. Reaction.
Yeah, reaction. You're not getting a reaction. Nope. Right. I'm not giving you that. Have a blessed day.
Brandon said, "Today is your day." You know, that's where that's why folks will start saying, "I got time today." Yeah.
Got it today.
Mika, is it on us? Are we allowing them? See, Craig, you know, and he's on here. He done commented a couple of times. I can't tell you how many times sitting in the barber's chair, he done said, those people that are closest to us, that we pretend that we love, we owe them the truth.
Come on, man.
You know, but too often we want to be comfortable. He goes, we're not willing to mess up Thanksgivings and Christmases, so we let their ass make it on stuff. When in essence, we're doing them a disservice. We owe them the truth. And it may sting initially, but that truth generally is going to serve as a healing mechanism to them down the line. See, it's like Novocaine. When you first get shot with Novocaine, it don't feel nothing, but if you give it time, it'll work.
Yeah.
Who am I on? Did I get Mika? Okay, Mika's on you.
Follow that.
Wow, look at that. Ben say, is Mika on the couch? She sure looking like it, ain't she?
I am icing my knee on the couch.
She's injured.
Yes, I am.
She's injured.
Yeah, I'm not gonna follow that. I'm just gonna say I concur. And I think, like you said, we don't want to mess up Christmases and Thanksgivings and all that other stuff. And at work, I have been the one, like Alicia, and said, hey, this made me uncomfortable in this situation. And they look at you real strange. Or may be mad at you, may not speak for a week or two. You're fine, but I told you the truth. And you're not going to come to me like that anymore. Or just have a good one. Per my last email, don't do that again. And like AJ said, I just like the tactic that his therapist used, because I've done that before. Whether it's been, in a personal relationship, family, I will get up and I will leave immediately. And that person will.
Go ahead, Mika.
Huh?
Go ahead, keep on. I'm sorry.
And that person will have to sit there in their own stink for a second and be like, "Oh my God, oh my God." Yeah. And take that accountability.
And I want to get back to I want to get to eventually, because we're talking a lot about holding people accountable and not accepting that. Well, we're gonna give you some tools on how to a little later too. We're not, because you can't just come out the box on them. Right. See, that's another reason why you got to do it early, because if you allow it to build up, you're gonna go too hard. And it's going to lose its effectiveness, and you're going to be wrong. You follow me? Yeah. And all the truth that you're telling will get lost in your frustration that has been building up. Yeah. But anyway, we'll get back to that. Nikki, is it on us? Are we allowing those people that are closest to us? Because again, it's really up to us to be checking those people that are close to us that we claim to love, more so than the Karen that's at the grocery store. See, sometimes we quicker to tell Karen about ourselves than we is to tell our little niece or our little nephew or our cousin or our whatever, who those are the people who we really bear the most responsibility for. Right. So, Nikki, are we letting folks make it?
I think that some of us are letting people make it, but in my opinions, some are not. Some are holding them accountable. Other people don't, because they're afraid of the aftermath of that. And so I believe that the more than not, they're not helping. They're not telling them how they feel. And then the majority of them they're not doing it. So, but you need to do it.
All right.
Don't bite your tongue.
Cool. All right. Let's get to a couple of more comments. Okay, Derek, Pastor Smith says that's why people tend to deal with people who they feel need them. People who need them are less likely to correct you or check you. Oh, my
you better talk.
I can just let that marinate for a minute.
Ooh, you better talk.
If you gonna preach,
so
if you gonna preach.
That is so true. My God.
Wow. You are right. I forgot to put this up when being asked, was Mika on the couch? He said, I got an off-topic question. Was Mika on the couch? See, he been hanging around somebody too long.
Oh, Lord.
Can you put up Derek comment one more time?
Yeah.
God,
Craig said I
today.
was just typing that. I don't know if you're talking about the Mika comment or
Y'all not gonna laugh at me.
That's why people tend to deal with people who feel they need them, or they feel need them. People who need you are less likely to correct or check you.
That is so true.
And
Look
so
at some people. Just it made you think about some people's circle, because right away I got a couple circles in my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're called, and there's a term for it. It's called yes men.
Yeah,
right. That's what we say. And you'll see it a lot in corporate America, right? Where the supervisor or the manager has somebody that's right next to them, and they know. I'm gonna say it like Mama used to say it. They know good and damn well that supervisor wrong or that manager wrong, but they'll sit there and co-sign with them, because they are the yes men or women, as the case.
And we also see that a lot in friendships. I even think of circles.
Like
when they feel like they're the boss of the group.
That's right.
So they usually tend to surround themselves with people that are less. They feel they're less than them.
There's normally an alpha to be perfectly honest with you.
But to Lily's point, it's easier for me to work on you than for me to work on myself.
Yes.
So I got a whole lot of opinions about what you need to do. I'll never have to, day in my life, work on me as long as I'm around people I feel like I need into and change them.
Wow.
So
it is a distraction.
Yeah.
Right.
It is a distraction.
Yeah.
Good.
And then we got Keisha in the building. She goes, "Hi, family. What's going on?"
Hey,
CJ said, "Man, I ain't letting shit slide. The moment you let me make it, they think you let people make it, they think it's cool forever." That's a good point too.
Yeah.
When you let them make it, they think it's cool. And so at some point, it really does become your fault more than it is theirs, because you let it become that, right? And they said the moment somebody feels violated in my family, we charging that ass up off the rip. And then Shannon says, "You guys are on it 100. Craig says, "Sometimes you got to tell people the truth at all costs." Yeah. And that comes up a lot whenever you're talking about friends or BFFs, right? And you get the question, "Man, should I tell her, her man was cheating, or should I tell her such and such?" And it always comes up to say, "Well, if y'all are really friends, you should be able to tell them the truth." And if you can't tell them the truth, if you get offended by the truth, then was y'all friends anyway? So what are you protecting? What are you afraid of losing? There's no substance to it, right? Brandy says, "I love this. Feels like church when God is speaking to you." No doubt. Keisha says, "What about when you tell them and they don't listen? Then eventually it will manifest itself in a negative way, and then they get sensitive." Well, that's on you.
You've done your part.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You've done your part.
Let me let you answer that question too.
Man, let me just say this. I know we got some other pastors listening, and they might be able to testify to this. When God will tear your behind up because you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
That's it.
And my responsibility is not to make everybody feel comfortable in their wrong. My responsibility is to say what thus saith the Lord. They can take it how they want it. They can chew on it how they want it. They can swallow it how they want. But my job is to serve it up. And I had a recent come to Jesus meeting with Jesus where he said, "Go up there and make them feel good one more time. Go up there and make everybody tickle their ears and rub them on their tummies one more time. Go up there one more time and do that, because the scripture says that I have to give an account. So when folks sound asleep, I'm trying to sleep, but God woke me up and said, "Now, wait a minute, what was that you said the other day?
Wow.
Yeah.
When did I tell you to say that?
Wow.
What happened to you letting people know that if I'm in them, then we gonna finish what we started?"
Wow.
And Doc, I'm telling you, I have been in trouble with God a lot. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't trying to tell you every day is angels singing and harps playing and all that.
Yeah.
I have gotten my behind whooped a number of times because I was like, oh Lord, I don't want to say that. Can we say this?
Yeah.
And I've tried to reword it. I've tried to repackage it. I've tried to reform it. And guess what? I got that when I got home.
Yeah.
So right now, until he says stop, the message is finish what you started.
Yeah.
Pastor, what you gonna preach today? Finish what you started. Pastor, what you gonna finish what you started? If Noah could preach 100 years, it's gonna rain. Then guess what? I'm gonna preach finish what you started until he tells me to stop.
Yeah. And these queens can account for, it ain't nothing fun about getting the Wilma Jean whooping, but I'm telling you right now, Jesus whooping,
baby.
Yeah.
That ain't one you want.
Keisha ain't lying. Keisha ain't lying. Them God chastisements ain't no punk. I got whipped 2 Saturdays ago. Well, he must have just finished with you before he got to me, because baby, he came. He brought me. Yes, ma'am. I was next.
CJ said sometimes people's feelings got to get hurt in order for them to act right, unfortunately. Craig said, Jesus said, do you love me? Feed his sheep. And then speaking of Wilma Jean, that's the queen. That's the queen's mama right there. She said the truth that sets you free.
Keep on.
That's
Derek Smith.
The truth that set you free. You didn't say the truth that set me free when I stole their money, but you wasn't being all Jesus then.
Because that belt set you free.
Pastor there's a time and a place, but we codependent on them. Yeah. Then we got Blue Streak Freak in the building. Theodora Harper.
Hey, Theodora.
Good evening.
Brandon said people that are that way also tend to trauma bond as well.
Wow. That's another one.
That's powerful. Yes. She on
it. Somebody using their therapy word. Okay. Boy, I love it.
Oh, right.
Another toxic.
Come on in the room, Pastor Dawkins.
And then,
First Lady.
Teacher says, "Them God chastisement ain't no punk. I got whipped 2 Saturdays ago."
Yeah.
And then Pastor Smith said, "You're absolutely right, brother. But if we need the tithes and the offerings, we are less likely to tell them what they need to hear. If you lead the people, you can't lead the people." God,
that's so strong right there.
My goodness.
That's rock hard right there, Doc. That's straight rock hard right there. Ooh. God, dog.
Want some more of that? Want some more of that? Tune in to BS3 TV every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock a.m. Central Time.
He drops gems all service long.
Yeah. All right. So we had talked about, calling people out and stuff like that. And I want to be careful that we don't go set the world on fire and we hear everybody on Channel 8 News tomorrow night because they done went and checked everybody in their circle. So let's talk. And I'm going to start with you, AJ, about giving people some practical methods for being able to call somebody out on this, not using these excuses, whether it be I'm a work in progress, I'm trying, I got a lot going on right now. There's another one, right? What are some ways where we can kind of coach people in being able to approach those who need to get their coattails pulled?
So I'm a word nerd. So I'll ask questions when I have questions. So somebody will say that I know have been dealing with the same thing for a long time, that it's clear that they ain't really working on it. So I'll ask the question, do we have a relationship? We do. Okay. Is it a good relationship? Yes, it is. Can I say some things and you don't get offended?
Love it. Love it.
Bam, the door's open. I'm coming in. I'm going to give you and then I'm going to remind you. Now, remember, you said that we have a relationship and you know that I love you. So, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but I got to tell you, it looks real, real crazy that 29 years later, you still worried about him. He done married 3 other folks. Woo! You got 5 other boyfriends. Y'all still should not be popping each other's tires and putting sugars in each other's tanks and all that kind of stuff. There ought to be something different now.
Not 29.
29. So again, I think it's not always what we say, it's how we say it. And sometimes if you remind them that we've got a relationship, I really do love you. I've been rocking with you when you weren't rocking with. So I just want you to know that ain't changed for me, but I do have to tell you some things that might step on your toes a little bit.
That's good.
That's how I love that.
Because I usually don't do that, but that's
taking too long to say something. So that's my
Say
fault.
that again, Mika. You kind of broke up a little bit.
I said I make the mistake of waiting too long. So that's my fault. Yeah. And then when you do that, it's just like, so you don't set the stage.
So Mika, real quick. Now I'm just talking to you. Ain't nobody else listening. Okay. I'm the dude that in corporate America, in the middle of a conference room with a bunch of people, flipped a whole table over. Mm. It was at that moment that I knew that I needed to get stuff off my chest sooner than later.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I did not lose my job. I did not lose my job. And that was grace. But the mercy said, now you go work on you because you got a problem. You got a real problem. Let this be your last table. So you got to get to it before it becomes a toxic bomb. You got to get to it before it blows up on them and you, because there's always blowback. There's always blowback. So all I tell you is you got to get it off your chest. You sure do.
Y'all believe AJ would do something like that?
No, absolutely not.
I
can. With only one other person in the room that looked like me, flipped a whole conference room table over. I sure did.
You why they scared of us?
I sure did.
You are scared of us. Nikki, you got any practical application for the viewers on maybe good ideas on how to approach somebody that they need to just, have a come to Jesus or an awakening about how they're seeing some things?
I think maybe you can go to someone that is and let them know that I'm not really trying to judge you or anything, or trying to have you do something that you don't want to do, but this is what I would do in the situation. And then give them when you start the conversation, the dialogue, then that's when, if they're willing to listen, then that's when I think you can come in, especially if you know those people. And if it's somebody you don't know, I'm not going to do no foolishness like that. And I'm definitely not going to do it on my job where and flip tables over like AJ. But you can. It's a way that you can tell people your thoughts on what they can do and stuff, and just tell them what you would do. If they have a relationship with God, tell them to talk to God about it. He'll give them the answers that they need.
Mika, any suggestions? Any practical application on how people can?
I think you should check you first. So if you're going to have a conversation with somebody, make sure you're in the correct headspace to have that conversation. And the second part is relationship. If you don't have a relationship with the person, some conversations can't or don't need to be had. So I think, start with you, check you, and then make sure that the relationship is there in order to have that conversation.
Wonderful. Lily.
I think too often we talk to everybody else about the problem, but don't actually talk about the person. So we'll talk about, I'll tell 3 other people, this is my issue with her, but I've never gone to her and told her that. But then we'll get into a situation where it'd be like, okay, when I go in here, she say something to me, I'm going off. We already going in there with that mindset. Yeah. So what I've had to learn seriously is when you do that, all it becomes is a pissing match, for lack of a better term.
That's it.
It just becomes a pissing match on who's gonna get loud, who's gonna get in, each other's face. I'm not doing that. So what I've learned to do is really have the conversation, like Mika said, when you're in a better headspace and privately. Not everything has to happen in a group setting. And I think a lot of times we go into really it. Big. Yeah, I think a lot of times we go into it, and oftentimes that person is embarrassed that you call them out in front of everybody. True. So they're gonna jump fly, and from there it takes off, and it's bigger than what it had to be. Yeah. So I think you have to be in a good headspace, but also make sure that you're how would you want somebody to approach you? Would you want it to be done publicly, or would you want them to pull you to the side?
Right. But you also want it to be done in love. Right. You don't want to just, because that'll take it easier that way.
Yeah. I think one of the things that what Lily said that made me come back to a comment or a thought that I had was public execution, right? See, too often people get off on a public execution.
Yeah.
You know, and those are the people who really don't have that individual's best interest at heart. You know, if you're making it a public execution, so pulling them to the side is always the way to go. For me, the practical application that I was taught by my pastor, my old pastor, was Proverbs 27:17. He taught on that one day, and iron sharpeneth iron, so therefore a man is responsible for the countenance of his brother. And so basically what I would do is I would say a prayer by myself first, you know, and I would ask God to restore me to righteousness, ask for forgiveness for my sins and all that stuff. So when I came to this individual, I was righteous, right? And then we prayed together, and then I talked to him about Proverbs 27:17, and I broke the word countenance down, which means your look, your appearance, and your honor. I said, so I'm responsible for your countenance if it's off, you know? And so with that being said, you need to check this, or you need to check that, or you need to check that. And every time I've come like that, you know what? Half the time they said, after I got through saying what I said, they said, as soon as you asked to talk to me in the closet, or you asked to talk to me in the usher room, you asked to talk to me here, I said to myself, what if he says something about my attitude? Or what if he says something about the Holy Spirit done already conditioned him on what I was going to say, because I got myself right first, and I did it in these steps. So he conditioned them so much to receive what I was going to say that he already showed them, yep, this is your day, you know?
Yep.
So that's a wonderful practical way. Ben has a note for me. He goes, speaking of honey buns, they got honey buns for the low at Costco. Appreciate it. I can afford them now. Pastor Smith said the Bible says, faithful are the wounds of a friend. You can stop right there, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Craig, you remember we talked about this the other day, man? The Bible said, faithful are the wounds of a friend. Sometimes your friends don't know how many bullets you done took for them.
Yeah.
Right? They have no idea. Our true friends should be able to tell us hard truths and we not get offended, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And then he says, come on, Jesus, flipping over tables. And AJ, and I think Pastor Di got the order wrong.
Yeah,
the management in your future, let us pray. Pastor AJ, the blood. Yeah, he didn't, that was back in the day. He
a long time ago.
He done grown up.
Yeah. And, Craig said, yes, Lord. And then he goes, Mika, cool hearts. Let's see. Blue Streak Freak says that's key. Say and do things in a loving and caring way. You use words like consider this. I love it. So I'm not telling you what to do.
Yes.
I'm just asking you to consider this, you know.
Yeah.
Think about this. Give it some thought, you know. Can I speak a word to you, etc. I love it. Then Craig says, just make sure your delivery is right. The truth helps more than it hurts. Yeah.
Delivery
and a good percentage of the time, it's going to hurt when it's going down. You know, I mean, shit. I mean, yeah. Do y'all like the way Robitussin tastes? But it's going to knock that cough right on out, ain't it?
I'm sorry, I try not to laugh.
That's the truth, though. So LaShawn has a question. She goes, have y'all ever let someone make it because you cared or loved them? I think we all can say yes. Probably mistakenly, but yes, we have. And then he says, they'll say they're trying, but you see they aren't. How much time do you give someone to progress or grow?
Let me answer that, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
One thing I had to realize, especially as a pastor, but more as a father, because it was just me and my oldest son. I was a single father with him for a minute. And because he looked so much like me, and because he had so many mannerisms like me, I thought he was good or should be good at the things that I thought I was good at. So I would be hard on him when he didn't know his math. It was like, dude, I got 2 degrees in math. Why don't you know this?
Yeah.
Wow.
And reality was, he was my son. He wasn't me. So I had to start asking. My prayer became, Lord, what is this? And what do you want me to do about it? And that what do you want me to do about it oftentimes included the win. There were times when he said, leave him alone. He's dealing with this, he's dealing with that, and he's dealing with you. So leave him alone. Man. So I feel like if we're doing this spiritually, you got to go to the maker. You can't do it your own way in your own time because you think
that's so good.
And I think that will help us with the words, with the way, and all of that when it's done in the will of our Father.
That's it.
That is so true.
That's good.
That's it. And anybody got anything to add to that?
I wouldn't dare.
Oh, you so silly. Stop.
All right. Let's see. Okay, Derek says mature people can receive correction from flawed sources. Ooh, that's good too. See, sometimes folks don't think the Lord gonna use somebody who ain't got it together like you do to deliver a message to you. You are 100% incorrect. So he says mature people can receive correction from flawed sources. Mature people recognize truth and they respond. So it doesn't matter who's saying it. God, dog. If I could get up, it's what they are saying, but that is for mature people. That's right.
D, if you wanted to preach, just say that.
Yeah, that's all they have to say.
Sunday at 10.
He said, yes, sir. Okay, so now let's take another angle of this, right? So we done been spending time on what we think when people say what a work in progress is, why we think they're saying it, what are some ways to come pull their coattail. Now let's ask this question. And Lily, we'll start with you on this. What are some ways we can make sure that our saying, because we done said it too before, we are a work in progress. How can we make sure that we don't get into that rut of saying we are a work in progress and not having any movement in whatever we're dealing with?
I think what I've done is tell the people around me and the people close to me, call me out on my stuff. Like, don't sit there. If you see that I'm continuing to show this behavior and you know you don't like it, you know that it's something I've always said, like, okay, I got to get better with this. Call me out on it. Don't sit around and let me do it. I mean, it may hurt, like you say, them calling me out. I may get my feelings hurt. I may be like, okay, you know what? I ain't talking to them for a few days, but I heard you.
Yeah.
So call me out on it.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you this too. And Craig said, Alicia, that's good. And I'm going to tell you like this, high performing people, you know, whether it be in jobs or in life, high performing people are going to be sensitive when you say they ain't doing something well. Because we know we handle our business.
Oh, because I do this.
Yeah, like who you telling? I remember the first time, you know, and this was a job that I got like 3 promotions in 5 years, and triple my salary in that period, almost triple my salary in that period of time. And the first time my manager came and said I wasn't doing something well, I was telling him I'm finna, well, then you can have, I'm out then. Because I'm your best adjuster, and when this joker told me, he goes, "Look, man," he goes, "Come on, man." It was on a Friday. He goes, "You're taking it wrong. I'm not saying this. I know you're my best adjuster, but I'm saying we all can improve, whatever." And he's like, "Man, I was telling him, I'm done. I'm out." And he says, "Well, just take the weekend to think about it, man." You know, and so it took that weekend for me to come back and say, okay, I get it, you know. And the VP of that department told me, he goes, look, the CEO coaches me and I'm a VP. You know, he said, so we all got an area we can get better on, but that's when I knew high functioning, high performing people, they're going to be a little sensitive because they know we on top of our shit usually. You know?
And that's why they always tell us that on a Friday.
They want you to go home and don't come back before that.
Look here. I done took all my pictures off my desk. I done had them jokers thinking, is Ivan all right? Shit, I done took plants home. Y'all might not see me again. Mika, what are some ways that we can prevent ourselves from falling into that trap and using it as an excuse? I'm a work in progress.
Sorry, y'all. I was thinking about that time that happened for me too. I went ballistic.
And now you got 2 things to work on: being able to accept constructive criticism.
But that was 10 years ago. Now go. But I can remember it. Like Alicia said, accountability partners. So, and I get accountability partners in specific areas. If I'm trying to lose weight, I get somebody who is, who has done it well and can coach me. If I'm trying to get better on my job, I get somebody who's in a position that I'm trying to grow to. So accountability partners in different areas, and believe it or not, journaling. Like, what did I do the day before? How have I gotten better? What goals did I set? What ways have I gotten to those goals? Or am I still lacking in these areas? And what can I do to get better? So those 2 things.
Wow. Well, what I'm going to say is whoever your accountability partner is in cussing, you probably need to get a new one.
She gonna punch you dead in your back.
I mean,
dead.
I'm a whoop that back up.
I'm gonna beat you all in your back.
Derek's preaching. He said the doors of the church are open.
I heard that.
And Shanna says, make sure you are in high vibrations at all times. And crazy, that's correct. So, Nikki, what are some ways that we can prevent ourselves from going down that rut of saying I'm a work in progress, I'm trying, I got a lot going on, whatever, and using that as a crutch? What are some ways that we can prevent ourselves from doing that?
I think that when we get into those situations, that we could possibly, or not possibly, we can start to turn our words around and use positive words and speak those things as if they were already happening in our lives. Mm-hmm. So I think speaking it into existence is one way that we can do those things, is to change ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And for me, what I would add is, and as I was preparing for this, the notes I took in answering this question for myself is to actually write it down. I found that, so I'm kind of on the journaling thing, but it's a little different for me. It's kind of like a workbook as opposed to a journal, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So if ever I identify a problem in myself, then I'm gonna write down that problem. And then one of the questions I ask, what steps are you taking to get there? So that way I got real stuff. I can't just say, well, I got this problem, I'm working on it. Well, what steps are you taking to work on it? You can't just say I'm working on it. And then I said, don't focus on the efforts of others, focus on your own. Too frequently, we'll use what other people are doing. Here's a word for us that fits in this. They triggered me. Mm-hmm. That's focusing on the efforts of others instead of the others of our own, right? And don't rely, this is another thing too, don't rely on a pat on the back from other folks.
I know
you need somebody to say,
oh my God,
I'm so proud of you. It's good to hear this. I get it, but you can't rely on that. That can't be the thing. Well, since you didn't recognize the little progress that I made, now I'm through. Hang on. They don't even appreciate the work I done put in on it. So now I ain't gonna forget it then. I ain't gonna, that happens too often. Don't rely, don't need that. Because at the end of the day, it's not for them anyway. It's for you. Right. It's for your growth. 9 times out of 10, that ugly behavior is blocking a blessing in your life anyway. So it's for you, not for them. Right. And then I said, set attainable, measurable goals. Baby steps, but steps, so even if it's just a little something, said it, okay, if every time somebody does this, I'll roll just work on not rolling your eyes, just for the first time. Then when you get that accomplished, just little baby steps, try to figure it out. Oh yeah, Nikki would roll her eyes on folks in a minute.
But you know what? I always say that at work, like celebrate the small wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
Got to celebrate your victories.
Because we always focus on the big picture of this is where we should be, but we know that's not going to happen overnight. So you got to celebrate the small wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And AJ said something that I cannot let go earlier. And after this, we're going to give final thoughts and we're going to wrap this one up. But if anybody has anything to say on this, because this is stuck with me, where he talked about the pastors, but this applies to just regular everyday people in life, how a little success keeps us in, where he says, okay, this ministry you set up around who you were, and you had a little success in it. So you stayed in that area because you experienced a little success and you wanted to feel that, but he has so much more for you. Mm-hmm. And that's what I say. See, Craig, again, I'm bringing him up again, because we say this, he'll say all the time, good is the enemy of great, and because you're good, you're going to sit in that good. Yeah. You're going to sit in that success.
Oh my God.
Greatness is waiting on you.
That's
Any thoughts on that, anybody?
Yeah.
No, I think it's good. I think you just kind of made me think of something, because even at work, I actually had a supervisor tell me, Alicia, you're good, but you have the potential to be great. Mm-hmm. I need you to dig into that. Yeah. And I was like, okay, like what does that mean? And you have to kind of do a self check. Like, what does that mean? I know I'm good. Like, what else do they want from me? So you really have to dig into that greatness and want better for yourself. You have to want it.
Yeah.
Going back to my son on that, we kind of fell out after he graduated, and I asked him, son, where did we go wrong? And he said, well, you are a great pastor.
Ooh,
he didn't say
I
nothing
don't even
else.
want to hear no more, man.
I was busy trying to be a great pastor and not trying to be a good or great father.
Wow.
And I did. I apologized to him from that point. And just to answer the question before about what, I feel like I could do to make sure I'm right, I had to realize that not everybody was my Nathan. A whole lot of people wanted to come and tell me about me. And I realized in the position that I was in that I needed to get that from pastors who were not necessarily my friends, but that I could receive correction from.
Yeah, man.
But then I got so caught up in, well, you not my Nathan, you not my Nathan. I forgot that God saved somebody's life with an ass.
Yeah.
And I said, I give every now and then he might use somebody that I don't think has a word for me to give me a word. So I have to be ready to hear God's word and his voice from those and from those. Yeah. And again, I've had to check me. I'm my full-time responsibility. My behavior is my full-time responsibility.
Yeah,
what I've been through ain't nobody else's fault. And it ain't nobody else's responsibility. People do not have to deal with you because of what you've been through. Your behavior is just not always acceptable. And I had to realize that for myself. And guess what I do every single day? I check myself.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And those are my final thoughts.
Hello.
Because at the end of the day, that is really all you can control.
That's right.
That's really all you can control. Wow, that's super strong, man. But
now I'm quick to tell people the old me. I'm sorry, the new me just saved you from the old me.
Yeah.
The old me would have got you by now.
Yeah.
But the new me is happy being converted. It's happy being different.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just let the old me lay there, and the new me just saved your life.
Thank God for
grace and mercy for you, because the old me didn't come through.
Yeah, that's a word.
Yes, Lord.
The old AJ would have got jiggy with it.
Been flipping tables.
Thank God for growth.
As Derek said, love this conversation. It has been even better than I had imagined. And the gold that has been dropped here, the bombs that have been dropped here, hopefully has helped somebody. I'm sure that they have. What I noticed, I can kind of watch the numbers as they come in and out. And one of the things that I got is a couple of people peeped in the room to see what we was talking about, and the shit was too real, and they peeped the hell right back out and said, I don't want to hear this today. Yeah,
I'm trying.
I get it. They don't want to hear it. Trust me. All right, Nikki, we're going to start with you on our final thoughts. We'll go to Mika, Lily, AJ, and then I'll wrap us up.
My final thoughts is first and foremost is thanking AJ for being on the show. It was a great show.
Bless you.
A great show. And we thank God for you blessing us tonight.
I appreciate
the listening audience, I appreciate you guys every single week that we're on this podcast. Because if it wasn't for you guys, we probably wouldn't even be on here if we didn't have you guys coming every week to support us. And I just want to say that I appreciate all of y'all.
Yeah. All right. TT.
Thank you, AJ. If I could, I would have shouted, but I had to sit on down. You and Derek hit me with a couple of things. I'm going back to listen to this conversation for me. You know, when you're on a show, you're in it, but you need to listen to it for yourself afterwards. And as far as the topic, work in progress, my goal is to get better, to be better than the day before. And we have to celebrate those small victories. And like AJ said, we're our own responsibility. I can't blame 20 years ago for how I act today. So just progressing every day and making sure you have some people to hold you accountable in different areas.
And I'm sure AJ would say it, and I'm sure Derek would say it, is that because you said you're going to go back and listen to this for you, I'm sure when they saying what they saying, they are receiving it for themselves too. I promise you that every word AJ done spewed, he eating it first. I promise you he eating it first. That's why he know what effect it should have on you because of the effect that it's having on him.
Right.
I guarantee you. Lily, final thoughts, man.
AJ, thank you for coming on tonight. We appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
It's always good when you come It feels like it's family in the room. So we definitely appreciate you. I think this is a conversation that I feel like we could have kept going with because it's so good. And it's like the more he said, the more we can add to.
Yeah, we may need to do a part 2 on this one. In fact, the reaction that people are trying to get, that was an aspect that I didn't get to, and a couple others. So we might need to do a part 2 on this. And AJ, if you got some pieces in your series that you think will be good for a part 2, please share that to me so I can formulate an outline and we can maybe do a part 2.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Lily. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you good. I absolutely think this should be a part 2. But just a work in progress. I think we often overuse phrases and words, and we don't know the power that it holds. Like if I hear somebody say that, I'm probably already not listening anymore. Because I've heard you say it too many times before. Yeah. I like to see action behind your words. So it's one of those things where we have to stop overusing these phrases and really be about our business. So, I like Amika said, I always wake up and my getting out of the bed, I'm like, Lord, make me better today than I was yesterday. That's part of my prayer every day. And it's something that I really strive to do. You often fall short.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things we got to just continue to really put action into our words.
Right. And being said, amen, be better than the day before. Absolutely. And he also said, great conversation. We got John Yogi in the building. Said, John, great show, guys.
Let me screenshot this.
Yeah. And I know, see, y'all be sleeping on John. I bet John got some good stuff to say about this topic too.
I bet he does.
I bet he does. You don't pay attention to him. In fact, on part 2, I was thinking that we need to invite Pastor Smith on to join us in a part 2 if we.
That'd be good.
If you do that, I'm just gonna sit there and be like this for them.
I'm telling you. Remember that show? He said, "Mama, you're on the show. Stop watching it."
That's
That's how I'm gonna be like.
I can tell you, AJ.
I
don't know if you watched that show, AJ. But we had our mom on. Was it our 70th birthday show?
Yeah.
So she was on, and at some point during the show, I caught her looking at the screen like this. I'm like, Mama, you own the show, not watching it. Yeah.
You leave your mama alone.
All right, AJ, final thoughts, sir.
Man, real quick, kind of for part 2, somebody else's behavior shouldn't affect yours. Yeah, that's maturity.
Yeah.
When you get to a point where you don't let other people's behavior dictate yours, you're on your way. Now you're moving from trying to doing. So, man, this one is near and dear to my heart because, God, like, literally would not let me sleep on it. He wouldn't let me rearrange it, man. It's going out with straight, with no chaser. It's going out straight. Yeah. And I'm serious about it. I'm going to keep it going till he tells me to stop because think about it. It's one thing in the world, but in the kingdom, we ain't finishing what we started.
Yeah.
That don't even jive with God's word.
Right, man.
It don't even jive with God's word. And there's a couple of scriptures that scare me. One, depart from me, you worker of iniquity, for I never knew you. Where do you go when Jesus puts you out? Who do you appeal that to? That and these people worship me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Doc, I don't want to say I'm trying. I don't want to say I'm a work in progress. I want to be about doing. I can do all things through him who gives me strength. So
amen.
If I put in that work, then it will get done. So I appreciate y'all having me, man. And I'm like Lily, I feel like family. So call me your cousin, your brother, that other brother, whatever you want to do. But we family now. Lily said family. Lily said it, so then y'all can't take it away.
Well,
you family.
Well, as soon as you know the quotes, I'm gonna hit you dead in your back. I think right there, just knowing that puts you in a category that we consider family.
I think if I get Nikki's endorsement, then it's over. It's a wrap. She's the senior statesman.
Yeah, you got my vote.
Yeah.
Your brother AJ.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does that suffice, sir?
It's done.
Well, you got one more. Wilma Jean got to say something now.
Oh, Mama will. She'll come into the family.
Okay. Thank you.
She already said it. The truth shall set you free. That's her endorsement.
All right.
Amen.
So for me, my final thoughts are we've all had times in our lives where we could have been far more successful had there not been a constant stream of our own excuses in the way, blocking the path to progress. Excuses or rationalizations we make to ourselves. They are typically invented reasons created to defend our own behavior, lack of action, or simply as a means of avoiding responsibility. Excuses, as much as anything, limit a person's opportunity to reach their full potential. Make sure you being a self-described work in progress isn't really an excuse. And those are my final thoughts. Dr. Selena Finch-Roy Smith.
Leave her alone.
All right. So we appreciate y'all for joining us next week. Ooh, I can't wait on this one.
Not next week.
The week after.
The week after. Because I will be out. So November the 1st, cap or no cap, with special guest hosts Damian and Jamie Johnson from the Marriage is Real podcast. And if you have seen an episode with them, you know it's going to be plenty of laughs. They are some real folks. They are some genuinely good people. So that ought to be fun. So we're going to break down a couple of things in relationships, men and women. So we're going to see if it's cap or no cap. So join us on November the 1st. And again, we'd like to thank AJ for joining us. He is always so gracious with his time. He never turns us down, and we appreciate that, man.
Love it.
I appreciate y'all, man. Thank y'all for having me. I don't take it lightly.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we will see y'all in the next episode of Queen3 and King. Until then, matter of fact, this is what I'm going to do. Because I like the way he ended the Lunch Break Sports Show. I'm going to let AJ end this. I keep forgetting to do this when he's on before. So I'm going to let him close us out.
Doc, as always, let's not be divided. Let's be united. We love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Amen.
We'll see you on the next episode of Queen3 King.
Bye. Are we smiling or what are we doing?
The Queen Bee has arrived.
You know. What's your out there? So I'm gonna start with both of y'all's hands right here.
Look for my thumb.
Look for your thumb. Like if you can